the channel, Gav Axeman Spin. So today's video, one I've really looked forward to doing. I've been listening for the last month or so to the catalogue of the Mighty Who. Hopefully you'll have enjoyed a bit of scooter footage and a bit of music at the start there. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll put the whole scooter with engine noise that I cut together for the lads at the WV1 Scooter Club who are at my local, and I know somebody in there who invited me along to do a bit of filming. So yeah, great evening, actually a couple of beers and just watch people run about on scooters. But the Who, for me, one of the great bands. I think of all the 60s bands, they were the first one that I really kind of explored the back catalogue by myself. I think it's always important when you're doing ranking videos to kind of tell people where you came in. So for me, I was only kind of 7 or 8 when Keith Moon passed away. I would have come in somewhere in the early 80s before they kind of called it a day for what at that time was seemed like forever, but they obviously have retired more times than I've had hot dinners. But the first kind of record I had that was relevant to the Who was this one. Which is a charity album, Concerts for the People of Kampuchea. I mean, look at the lineup on there: The Clash, Ian Jury, the Queen track on there is brilliant. But the one that I really liked was side 1 is All the Who. It's got Baba O'Reilly on it, Sister Disco, Behind Blue Eyes, and See Me Feel Me, which obviously is the ending of Tommy. But I absolutely loved this album back in the day, and I've still got it. Yeah, brilliant. But the Who side, that's where I kind of came in with the Who, and I played that side 1 of that for years and years. I absolutely loved it. And then really when the whole CD reissue campaign of the Who, I kind of dived in, where they expanded the albums and added bonus tracks, sorted the sound out, and for many years I'd kind of hoovered up everything that got reissued. And the Who, I'll give them the due, have been very good at kind of keeping the flame alive, because the studio kind of work, bearing in mind they started in 1965 with the first album, and the latest album's 2019. They've only managed to make a dozen studio albums in all that time, which seems nuts, doesn't it, really, for a band that's been going that long. So it's definitely a message of quality over quantity. I don't think there's anything particularly bad in the Who studio kind of album catalogue, and there's at least, I would say, half a dozen that are absolutely essential for any record collection. Great band. You know, they are a band, but they were also individuals, if that makes sense. So when that original lineup played together, it wasn't really a band that's a tight band that you see musicians talk about. They were literally all over the place. But the din that the 3 people playing instruments made, that somehow knitted together, even though they all seemed to be doing their own thing. So obviously Roger Daltrey was twirling the microphone. He was the kind of archetypal, singer of the 70s, wasn't he? Bare-chested with the tasseled jacket. Peter always looked pissed off, probably because he felt that he never got the recognition. Maybe he didn't feel he was as good looking as some of the others in the band, or what, I don't know. But he always seemed angry, didn't he? But the guitar work that he did, if you watch things like the Isle of Wight kind of video performance from the 1970s, I think it is just phenomenal. John Entwistle, the quiet one, just banging away at that bass guitar, probably the first heavy metal bass guitar solo on my generation. But obviously my favourite is the late and great Keith Moon. For me, one of the great drummers. The records that are made with Keith Moon on them are unlike pretty much anything else. He doesn't kind of keep a beat, he just rolls. So those records kind of just groove in their own way. They're totally unique. They sound like no one else, and the Who never really recovered from his passing, in my opinion. And I do get slightly annoyed that Pete Townsend, in his autobiography, took quite a few opportunities to kind of disparage Keith's playing. I just think he's inimitable, and they've never been able to replace him. If you want one Who book, I did try and find it, but I couldn't. It's somewhere in the house. Dear Boy, I think it's Keith Fletcher that wrote it, and it's a biography of Keith Moon, and it's absolutely brilliant. A short life, but well lived, funny, sad in equal measure, but the stuff that he got up to, and it was all schoolboy stuff, really, but I don't think he did anyone any harm other than himself, really. But yeah, sadly, he lived a short life, but a great life. Anyhow, Before I go through the ranking of the albums, I'll just point you in a couple of things, because the Who, although they got a small catalogue, a lot of the singles were not on albums. So there's a great 4 CD box set of the Who's A's and B's. That's well worth getting out. But on vinyl, I've just picked 3 albums to kind of complement the main catalogue. The Mighty, Meaty, Beaty, Big and Bouncy is pretty essential in my opinion, purely because it's beautifully packaged, isn't it? You got that iconic kind of cover with the kids on the front, and then the band looking through, and then it's reversed on the back that the band are out front, the kids looking through. It's got the pictures of the place where they did their residency in London, and some of the singles that aren't on albums are just essential. So Can't Explain, My Generation, pictures of Lily wasn't on album, Magic Bus, I'm a Boy, Anyhow, Anyway, Anywhere. It's just a great album, so well worth getting one of those if you can find them. They're normally not that hard to find, actually normally fairly cheap. A companion album called Odds and Sods. So this is all the stuff they left off albums that John Entwistle was responsible for compiling, and this is a great album in its own right. So it's got the first single was The High Numbers on the Face. That's a great song, actually. I really like that. The absolute gem on this is Pure and Easy, that was left off Who's Next. That's such a great song. How that didn't make the cut, I do not know. But all in all, this is a really solid album. It's got some stuff from the Who Sell Out, some of the fake advert songs as well, so well worth getting that one. And of course, if you're going to buy a live album, Live at Leeds, there's a copy original sneaking up there, but this expanded version, which has the full set triple album, is just awesomeness personified. Half speed mastered, the full concert. If you can get one of those, grab them. I don't know how I ended up getting this one for something like £12. There was some kind of, when it was first issued, some kind of, I don't know whether it was to launch these half speed mastered things, but it was absolutely cheap as chips when it was first announced. So I dived on board with that with quite a few other people. Brilliant live album, probably one of the best live albums of all time. So, 12 studio albums that go from 1965 to 2019. So whenever, I always say this, whenever I'm ranking albums, it's my opinion. So this is a bit like if you were stood next to me in a record shop and all 12 albums of The Who were there, and you were saying to me, which one should I buy? The one at the bottom will be the one I'd say to leave till last, and the one at the top is the one I'd say just get that one first. So at the bottom, sadly, it's the most recent album. I always hate putting the band's most recent album at the bottom, but this is just called The Who from 2019. It's okay. I was slightly disappointed in this because the reviews are really strong for this album. But the cover's a little bit of a pastiche of Stanley Road by Paul Weller, which... Peter Blake, you know, it's a kind of like, could you not do something a little bit more original? And that's in a way personified by the album as well, because it's a little bit Who by numbers. It's all the ingredients are there, but the cake doesn't quite rise, if that makes sense. The track that I like the most in this is probably the Pete Townsend song that he sings. That's not really like the rest of the album, called I'll Be Back, because that one sticks in the mind. But the rest of it kind of, it plods along, it's all right, but it doesn't really kind of hit me that hard. So it's okay. If you've got everything else, it's probably worth having this, but I'd go with the others first. The next one would be the one that preceded this. Now, this is from 2006. There's a big gap between these two albums, but Wire and Glass. Now, this, I think, is much better than what followed. There's a little mini rock out. It's a kind of a double, so there's a little mini rock opera again on side C, or... so record 2, side 1, whichever way you want to call it. So Wire and Glass and Mini Opera, that's fun. The final track on the album proper is Tea and Theatre. When I saw them live on this tour, that was how they closed the album, which is close a concert, which is just Roger and Peter on an acoustic. It's a really nice song, that. But there was some good stuff throughout. So the opening track, Fragments, has that kind of one of those keyboardy riff that goes on, so very reminiscent of the Who's Next era stuff. It's Not Enough is a good song. A Man in a Purple Dress, quite an angry song about the Catholic Church. So I do quite like this album, and this was better than I was expecting, so hence it's slightly higher than the other one. And then from there on in, we've got to now go back, because since 1982, those were the only 2 studio albums that they managed to put out in all that time. So we're now going back to the early 80s and then 70s and 60s. So the one I put next is not a bad album, another Peter Blake cover, so that's giving it away, isn't it? So Face Dances, there's a nice poster in some copies as well. So nothing particularly wrong with this album, but I kind of feel that the single was You Better You Bet, which is a great song, but then there's, for me, not a lot else that kind of puts his head above the parapet as such. So it's okay. If I listen to it, I kind of think, yeah, that's all right, but there's not a lot that kind of sticks in the mind for me on that one. So, yeah, so that's why it's slightly down the rankings. The one after it that was called It's Hard would be next. Now, the reason I put this one above the last one is because Eminence Front is on this, which is, I think, one of the last great classic Who songs. And it took a long, long time for that one to be recognised, because it was going to be a single and then I think got withdrawn. The lead single they went with, Athena, I don't know why they went with that one. That was one of the first Who singles I bought as a young man. I was about 11 or 12, and I didn't particularly enjoy it then, and I still don't enjoy it. The rest of the album's okay, but it's worth having really for Eminence Front. A great, great song, and that's really the Kenny Jones era of the Who over there. So there at the bottom, from here on in, it's all Keith Moon and classic Who. Whilst I'm talking, I'm going to recommend a channel out there, which is Stevie's Vinyl Cupboard. If you like the Who, I'll put some links in my comments, but he does loads and loads of archival Who footage and interviews and bits and bobs on his channel. I don't know how he puts them together. He's a bit of a wizard. He's also very, very funny, and he made one of the funniest vinyl community videos where he recreated an album cover of a prog rock monstrosity, and it's a brilliant video. If you get a chance to watch it, go there. So Stevie's Vinyl Cupboard, go watch. He also does glove puppets, all kinds of things. Very funny. Next one. A quick one. So the reason this is so far down is because when this came about, somebody somewhere had the bright idea that if every member of the band wrote some songs, they could get more money from the publishing company. So the call went out to Roger and Keith in particular to come up with some songs. John Entwistle was already could write songs, and obviously Pete was the main man, but it totally dilutes the album really. The Roger song's not good at all. The Keith one's kind of funny, but John contributed Boris to the Spider, but it does weaken the album. However, no album that's got So Sad About Us can be totally written off, because that's a great, great track, one of my favourite Who songs, and the Jam did a great cover of that. You've also got the first attempt at a rock opera with A Quick One While He's Away, all about the tales of Ivor the engine driver getting up to all kinds of no good with local married women. So funny, but it's a bit of a lightweight album. However, this one is a UK mono, and it's an original. And the tale of this one, I was in a record shop in Wolverhampton that's sadly closed now, and the owner was a slightly strange guy who always tried to flog me the Bruce Willis solo album whenever I was there. He'd always, his opening gambit was also, did you know Bruce Willis made a solo album? But he called me into the back room one day and said, this has just come in, I think you like this, and I'll show this again because it's nice and glossy, so nice laminate. And he went, what do you think of this? So UK mono on Reaction, very, very good condition. I think he thought I was richer than I am, not that I'm rich at all. His price point started at £100, to which I kind of went to walk out the shop. Then it went to 50, and I think in the end I got it for 25 quid, because I was like, well, yeah, it's nice, but I'm not paying that much. And I don't know why, but he desperately wanted to sell a record that afternoon, whether he needed some beer money or something, I don't know, but that's how I ended up with that one. So what's up next? The final album with Keith Moon, it's got the immortal title track as heard in CSI. You remember those? That pretty much every season of CSI and those spin-offs had different Who songs. So I think Baba O'Reilly got used in it, and Won't Get Fooled Again, and Who Are You? Brilliant song, love that. The rest of the album doesn't quite live up to that, but it isn't bad at all. Sister Disco, Had Enough's a good song. Trick of the Night, Guitar and Pen. Actually, this is a decent album, but it's not quite tip-top Who, but it's good. And the title track's pretty immortal. I love that song, so that will be next. Right then, so we're now going to go back to where it all began, with My Generation. Great debut album, iconic cover art again. John Entwistle with the Union Jack coat there. Again, this is another mono. So this got held up with all kinds of legal issues for many years, because the producer, I think, was fired and held onto the tapes. Was it Shel Tammy? And he did all those early Who singles as well. But when it eventually got reissued on CD in the 2000s and something, it was a real big deal because the tapes had been withheld from the Who for many years. So Virgin Records did a reissue in the late 70s, probably when all the mod revival was going on. So that's what this one is. And I think there is a nice half-speed master edition of this out and about now. So, but great album. Signature song for me, The Kids Are Alright. Cracking song, obviously the title track, My Generation, one of the few singles that was on the album, but all in all good. It's also got the Ox on it, which is like a group instrumental. That's a fun bit of thing, a bit ahead of its time. But it's got some of the soul-y cover versions. The last they didn't have many of their kind of R&B kind of influences end up on record, but that's one of the few. So the James Brown song I don't mind, so well worth getting. As is the next one. So the Who by Numbers, anything but. This is I think probably one of their most underrated albums. I love the cover. It's the John Entwistle Join the Dots cover. I don't know if they were all numbered, but this one is numbered. And it's a great album. So the single's a bit of a slight song, but it's great. It's a fun throwback to their 60s output in Squeeze Box. But it's a heavy album in the rest of it, particularly lyrically, because it's starting to deal with things like Pete Townshend's alcohol problems. So Slip Kid, great song, However Much I Booze. Blue, Red and Grey is a great song. So this is a solid album, probably the last great Who album. But if you haven't got that in your collection, I would highly recommend it. And again, you can pick these up for not a lot of money. So that'll be next. So I think, if I've got my maths right, there are 4 to go. So all of these, I think, in their own right are classics. So so what's at 4 and what's at 1, there isn't a lot between them, but these are the ones I enjoy the most. So one of the albums I enjoy the most, if I'm on a long car journey, particularly coming back late at night, is putting on the whole of this album and just letting it play through, because it's wonderful. So Tommy, 1969, the first rock opera as such, as numerous versions that came out after this where they had cast recordings and the movie version and that type of stuff. For me, the original can't be bettered. Absolutely love this one. This is a Track Records jobby. It's just a brilliant album. I really enjoy the instrumental stuff, so like overture and undertures on there. It's funny. It's got things like Fiddle About, which you probably wouldn't get away with now. Keith Moon's Immortal, Tommy's Holiday Camp, it just makes me laugh. But some great songs on Free, Pinball Wizard, obviously, and then the final track, We're Not Going to Take It, that goes into See Me, Feel Me as well. What an epic end to that album. Slightly weedy production, but that's part of the charm. It's been beefed up for all the CD remasters and all that type of stuff, but a great album, I think you'll all agree. But what could be better than Tommy? Well, the other big concept album that they did would be Quadrophenia, and again, this is one of those albums that it's a proper album. It's a start to finish jobby. There was some talk of disgruntlement with the production on this. I don't really care. I think it's brilliant. So the big songs, obviously, Love Rain Over Me, that closes the album. It's Keith Moon smashes all the pushes all the cymbals over at the end. The Real Me, 515 was the single. What a song that is. So just brilliant, isn't it? If you do get one of these early versions, they came with a beautiful booklet that's inside, which I'm always very careful with, because you don't want it to kind of fall apart. Oops, there you go. There, but yeah, it's absolutely great. So you cannot go wrong with a lovely copy of Quadrophenia in your life. So great album, start to finish, a classic. So what's going to be number 1? So there's 2 left, and on any given day they could swap places, but I've gone with the one that I at number 1, the one that I would reach to more often than not. So my number 2, which could be anybody else's number 1, would be the Immortal Who's Next. Iconic cover, taking the mick out of the 2001 kind of imagery, having a wee up against that monolith there. I mean, the songs on this you can't really kind of knock, can you? My probably criticism of this album is what was left off it. So I do think that Pure and Easy that ended up on Odds and Sods should have been on this album, and they could have swapped something out. That would be my kind of only criticism, but who am I to do that? The massive 10 CD box set is well worth getting as well of this. But look at the songs. Barbara O'Reilly, you know, the one, Teenage Wasteland, great song. Love Ain't For Keeping, Bargain, what a track that is. Behind Blue Eyes, and of course the full 8-minute version of Won't Get Fooled Again. Not the terrible single edit, but great album. That though is number 2, because there can only be one number 1. And for me, the album that I put on the most in any version really is the wonderful Who Sell Out. And what I love about this album, the cover art is of its time, you know, the take on commercialism, the fake adverts who in the expanded CD version that came out, I think in the early 2000s, is great as well, because they've got some extra stuff on there, you know, that was on Odds and Sods and stuff. But I Can See For Miles is on there, one of the greatest singles ever made. You've got the beginnings of what became Tommy and Rael at the end, Sunrise, Tattoo. It's a brilliant one. The opener, Armenia City in the Sky. Everything about this album screams fun. It's the Who Sell Out, the Horrible Who, the Mighty Who, one of the greatest bands of all time, and all of them are great. So if you get the chance, go buy. The albums are widely reissued all the time. They do a really good job on their catalogue of keeping it in print and refreshing it. There's expanded box sets, you name it. There's their compilations are plenty. There's lots of stuff that isn't on the albums that's worth seeking out. What more can I say? Thank you to Pete, Roger, John, and the mighty, late and great Keith Moon. And hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to leave you now, hopefully with the sound of some wonderful scooters. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
She means when Jake's back to work.
See ya.
See you about tomorrow, right? We're after it, to change.
The last bike standing. Here he comes. Ooh.